Hello and welcome to Just Jets episode number 150. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary, hanging out with you for the next little bit here. I am not looking forward to doing this episode because it means the season is coming to an end. There is one more game left. It doesn't have any meaning whatsoever for the Jets because they have been eliminated from playoff contention for the 12th straight season. 12 times the New York Jets collapsed in 2022. That's what it is. They collapsed. There's a lot of reasons for the collapse. We're going to get into it. We're going to answer your voicemails. We're frustrated. It's a venting session. It's therapy. Thank God it's a couple of days removed from the actual game on Sunday. We had a lot of stuff to get out. I still have more to get off my chest about this one. Again, it's frustrating. It's annoying. I hate it. It's ridiculous that you have to talk about this again, especially after where this team was. But when you lose 5 straight games and have a chance to close out your season with 6 straight losses, you're absolutely going to call that a collapse. I know that is harsh. I know there are reasons for it, but the Jets collapsed down the stretch. Now, if you want to talk about why, we did a video on it, but to recap, losing Breece Hall and AVT, the abysmal quarterback play, inconsistencies at head coach, the inconsistencies at offensive coordinator, the defense, linebacker and safety depth. Special teams is the big one. Holy smokes, Braxton Berrios turning into a pumpkin. Just a complete regression. Braden Mann being awful. There's tons and tons and tons of reason why it happened, but the New York Jets collapsed. And fans have the right to be frustrated because I was sitting here today. I was like, before sitting down to record, I thought to myself, what do I want to talk about? What do I want to get into? And I know that the offseason stuff is going to be in there, and we're going to do a ton of that, but I don't have the energy to break down this game coming up against the Miami Dolphins. I did yesterday talking about the Jets, what happens if they win, if they lose, or what should fans be rooting for. I hate that this is where we're at. And thankfully, I guess positive spin, It took all the way to week 18 to get to that point. The Jets were in it from week 1 to week 18, which is an improvement. But it's still hard not to feel let down. It's still hard. So my thought here and what I want to talk about was 2022 a success or a failure? Was it a success or a failure? The side for a success, you could say, is, well, you don't like the answer, but you found out about Zach Wilson, which I guess that is a success. And you could also say, well, everyone asked for meaningful December games, and not only did you get that, but you got meaningful January games too. Say, okay, yeah, that checks 2 boxes. There were drastic improvements. The young guys performed well. Okay, check. But then on the failure side, you were at 7-4 at one point. You went 5-2, 6-3 at the bye, 7-4, feeling pretty good after you made the quarterback switch. And then it goes right off the rails. You were in that game against the Minnesota Vikings. You got to beat the Vikings. Dropped the touchdown pass. Then Mike White gets hurt against Buffalo. Then against Detroit, inconsistent quarterback play. The offense wasn't good enough. Defensively, they let up a big play on 4th down. You have the huge special teams blunder. That's pretty gross. Quick turnaround to Thursday Night Football. And you lose in embarrassing fashion to Jacksonville, where the quarterback didn't have a clue what was going on. Special team stinks again. And then you don't get off the bus. You don't even show with your season on the line. Again, you had your season on the line essentially 3 weeks in a row, and the Jets no-showed all of it. All of it. So is it a success or a failure? I don't know how to feel. I'm asking, not in a rhetorical way for me to then go on and explain why I think it's either a success or a failure. I don't know how to feel. I don't. I genuinely don't know how to feel about this season because there are a lot of nice things and a lot of positive things. And yes, there is a nice core and there is some good stuff. But at the same time, I'm pissed. I'm frustrated because this team should have made the playoffs. They should have been a playoff team. When you start 7-4, have an elite level defense, have the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year on the same roster, and you miss the playoffs, it's frustrating. And now the pressure's on for 2023. Oh, is the pressure turned up? Because you know why? They haven't made the playoffs since 2010. In a few months, when the Sacramento Kings finally end their streak of missing the playoffs for 16 straight years, the Jets will hold the longest active playoff drought in all major sports. We're talking football, basketball, hockey, baseball, all of them. Jets have the longest active streak. See how hard it is to, like, not even on accident make the playoffs? Teams accidentally make the playoffs all the time. Things just happen. Things break right. Look at the crosstown rival New York Giants. They weren't supposed to be this good this year. It was supposed to be the evaluation year, see who's going to stick, and then Joe Shane and Brian Dable are going to go in, get their guys, and then get them ready to compete. They made the playoffs. The Patriots. Hey, here's an example. Mac Jones had a massive regression. That roster is significantly worse, and they are still hanging around. They have a shot to make the playoffs. Teams all the time go from the bottom all the way up to the top. Jacksonville had the number 1 pick last year. They have a chance to be a playoff team. Detroit had the number 2 pick last year. They have a chance to be a playoff team. Don't give me the slow build excuse. Don't give me any of that. Has Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh done a lot of good things? Yes, I like both of those guys. I think they are the right guys. But eventually, you have to see the results, and saying that you have to make the playoffs in 2023, that being the expectation and the bar, is not asking a lot at this point. It's not. You had a chance to do it this year. You got the incremental progress. Now go be aggressive, because you have to be. You have to figure out quarterback. Be aggressive. Figure it out. Glenn, I'm not the one who has to make the decision. There's not a perfect solution out there, but you got to find it, and you got to make it work. You have to make it work, because you can't kick the can down the line and go, no, you finished 7-10 in 2022, and then you took a swing at quarterback and it didn't work. But Joe Douglas is going to pick his 4th quarterback, or 3rd or 4th quarterback at that time. Robert Saleh is going to get his 4th year to coach. NFL don't work that way anymore. It doesn't. It's rare that you get another swing at it. And I think Joe Douglas, because of the good things that he's done, is going to get that second swing at quarterback. And he best not miss. You can't miss this one. You can't afford to miss. So you got to make your changes. Is there going to be a fall guy? Is Mike LaFleur going to be that fall guy? I think there's a chance he could be. I think Woody wants heads to roll. I don't know if I do it. I think there's some things that he's done well. I think there's some things that he struggled with. But this team didn't have competent quarterback play, so it's also hard to evaluate. You can count on one hand how many times they had competent quarterback play. So it's kind of hard to say, is it the coordinator or is it the quarterback? It's a chicken and the egg argument, so you're going to have people on both sides. I get it. I understand it. And maybe they do turn him into the fall guy, but moral of the story, the pressure's on in 2023, collapsed at the end here in 2022. There's reasons for the collapse, but still not great. We have a ton of voicemails to get into, so I want to keep that intro a little bit short and sweet. I just had a few things to get off of my chest there. Before we get to your voicemails, though, I want to talk to you about Mojo, the stock exchange for the NFL. I'm eyeing Garrett Wilson. He is my spotlight. Garrett Wilson goes over 1,000 yards. First Jets receiver to go over 1,000 yards since Brandon Marshall. As a rookie, Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, by the way, in 2015. He did it as a rookie. I think he has sky-high potential. You can get in on him now and watch his value increase or decrease as his career goes. You could short players if you'd rather do that. You go long on guys. You can go short. It's really up to you. Legal right now in New Jersey. Download the app down below in the description. It's a ton of fun. Get in on it. Let's get into those voicemails. First up, we're going to go out to James. He was frustrated after the loss. Let's hear from him.
Hey, Matt, it's James. I mean, I cannot believe the Jets right now. The game's not even over yet. I'm calling in, though. I mean, this coaching staff is a complete embarrassment to me. You cannot lose the last 6 games of the season, which we're going to. We're going to. We're probably not going to beat the Dolphins, honestly, even if Skylar Thompson's starting, because, this team's completely unprepared. Every week, this team's unprepared. You cannot tell me going into next year that this coaching staff's gonna take us somewhere when we're just completely unprepared every week. I don't want to hear the excuse that the quarterback got injured. When You put Zach Wilson in the same system that he struggled in the whole year instead of just changing up the offense a little bit, have him roll out a little bit more, which is when he's actually been good. I mean, you cannot tell me that this coaching staff's gonna bring us anywhere. It's ridiculous. You can't lose the last 6 games of the season when you start 7-4. It's unbelievable how this keeps collapsed because we look unprepared every week. I'm done. I'm done with it. The same old Jets narrative. It is right. It's right. I've seen this too many times in my lifetime, man. It's ridiculous. It's the same old Jets. It's the same team. That's what it is. Same coaching staff, same team, same players, same quarterback. That's what it is.
I hear you, James. It's frustrating, and it's a big issue because it's not just the same guy. You've had different regimes come in here and struggle. It is embarrassing. I don't think you need to make drastic moves right now. I think they did show you strides, but that doesn't mean that the pressure can't be on for next year, which is kind of where I'm at right now. It's tough, and I get the frustration with the play calling. It's also it's hard to ask your play caller to do something when your quarterback can't do the simplest of things, when he's missing on easy throws. Even Mike White against Seattle, and sure, playing hurt, but I don't know. There were guys open that he was high on. And then can a receiver catch a ball? Everyone's at fault here. Everyone deserves some blame for why they struggled. It's not just one thing. I don't think it's one thing. Max from New Jersey has some ideas to replace LaFleur.
Hi, this is Max from home to New Jersey. Here's my thoughts on the game. Disastrous, disastrous, disastrous. There's only one word. It's disastrous. After today, I really want Mike LaFleur to be fired as the offensive coordinator. He is the worst offensive coordinator. He is so bad. He's like Adam Gates level of play calling. He is so bad. Like, why not go for a 4th and 2? I was confused. They went for the punt on 4th and 2 with the season on the line, playoff spot, 4th and 2. Decides to punt the ball. Really? Would you? If I was the OC, I would have went for on 4th and 2. I would have gambled and went for a 4th and 2 with the season on the line. Should have done the 4th down. And another decision I don't think was right. 4th and 14. Went for a 4th down. Why'd you go for a 4th down on the with 14 yards? You can't convert 14 yards on 4th and 14. Really? The only positive I can say today is the run game, but they strayed away from it. I mean, Mike LaFleur is such a bad play caller. He's not even creative. An offensive coordinator that I want to see the Jets next year is Shane Steichen if he doesn't get a head coaching job. I think he's a perfect offensive coordinator for the Jets. He's creative play caller. He actually adapts to his personnel, something that LaFleur can't even do. It's his way or the highway thing. If players can't even fit into his scheme, no, they're just gone. They don't even play. We can't even fit in? No. I mean, Steichen, he at least can use Garrett Wilson. He can use Elijah Moore. He can use our talent on our offense. LaFleur just doesn't have it. And the only reason he's still our OC is because his brother, Matt LaFleur, is the coach of the Packers. What's your thoughts on this and go Jets?
I think the only reason that he's still OC is because of the success that he had with Kyle Shanahan, but that's fine. I've seen a lot of people go on the nepotism route. Steichen's done a really nice job for the Eagles this year. He is not a super experienced play caller either. This is his 3rd year as an offensive coordinator. He was the 2020 OC for the Chargers. Then the last 2 years, he was been an OC for the Eagles. 9th in yards, 18th in points in 2020, 14 and 12 in 2021, and 2 and 3 this year. But there's another guy who's young at 37 years old. I think if they were to make a switch, it'd be for a veteran. And I think someone whose name gets brought up a lot is Frank Reich, and for good reason. One, because he's had success with a variety of different quarterbacks. And number 2 is he has the connection with Joe Douglas with their time in Philadelphia. So I think if he were to make a change, I think that's the direction that it would go. Vinny from Peak Skill calls in next. He wants to talk about the issues down the stretch and a quarterback option going forward from there.
Hey, Matt. It's New Year's Day, and I can't believe the shit show that I had to watch. I didn't even finish it. Well, we have to face the facts. We don't have the quarterback for the foreseeable future on this roster. And we need to make a move this offseason. I know that wasn't all of the problems here. I think part of it is this team just young. When the expectations shifted the playoffs, I don't think they handled the pressure well, and they kind of melted down the second half. I do think the roster needs a little tweaking, but for the most part, and I also think the coaching needs to do some work in the offseason to improve, but for the most part, we're here. And I want to talk about this. Like, I know people don't like it. I know there are a lot of people that aren't, but we need to go all in on getting Derek Carr. Let's be real with us here. We are not in a position to play with fire and hope next year isn't the year Tom Brady doesn't fall off the cliff. That's not. We can't afford to throw a bunch of draft capital at an Aaron Rodgers or a Lamar Jackson. And we most certainly can't rely on a glass cannon like Jimmy Garoppolo. And what's left after that? You're going to roll it back with Mike White, draft some mid-round quarterback and hope you can develop him and waste another year? But that's not an option for this team. We need to get back. We need to end this playoff drought. And we need to end it next year. Otherwise, someone's head's going to roll. I know some people are against Carr, but let's face it. He is the best and most realistic option for the Jets going forward. So, whether you like it or not, we need to do everything we can. The Jets need to do everything they can to get him here this off season. That's all. Hope you had a good New Year. And go Jets.
Thank you, Vinny. Yeah, it's wasn't all a quarterback, but you with the pressure that's on in 2023, how could you say I feel comfortable with what we saw from Mike White and Zach Wilson this year that you're going to bank your jobs on both those guys? I think you swing big for a veteran. And I think Carr and Jimmy G are your two most likely options. Can they surprise and pull in someone else? I suppose it's on the table, but I think Carr is probably Carr and Jimmy are the most realistic of the two. And there's concerns with both. I feel more confident in Carr than I do Jimmy, but neither of those scenarios are perfect. What we will say, though, and what I think is the most important thing, is that Carr would be a significant upgrade over what the Jets have had at a very, 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 very long time. He struggled this year, but even so, this is a top 12 to 15 quarterback in the NFL. And with this roster and with some stability, because let's not forget the Raiders' instability for years and years and years. They moved. They had a terrible situation in 2021 that he was still able to will them to a playoffs in, by the way. They were still able to do that. And how many different coaches have they had? He came into the league you had Allen, Del Rio, Gruden, McDaniels, a couple of interims along the way. Sparano. It was not a perfect situation. The offensive lines have stunk, but offensively, for the most part, they've been okay. And Carr's put up good numbers. He's going to throw you for 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns. You don't think the Jets can win with that? I do. And I think they could win with Jimmy G also, but the issue is health. At least Carr plays pretty much every year. All the games. So I do. I think you're going to have to, Jet fans are going to have to get used to that idea because I think it's a likely one. Eric from Belgium is next. He wants to list off some guys who the Jets can target. This is going to be a popular one today.
Mr. Matt O'Leary, this is Eric calling from Belgium once again. I'll be back in the States next week to call you.
Very good.
You didn't do a show this week, I don't think. I don't know. I've been looking for it on YouTube, but couldn't find it. But anyways, another disgusting loss. But I'm glad this happened. Mike White's a solid backup. I hope we keep him. Zach Wilson has to go. I just can't even stand the sight of him. I think you could help with this, you and your friend Asman. We need to start a poll with the fans, because I do believe the owner and GM check the fan base and listen to the fan base a little bit. We have to start pushing for Derek Carr, man. I'm telling you, one more receiver on this team. Corey Davis needs to go. Let's get a legit. I think we should try to draft Quentin Johnson and sign. I would like to sign Jimmy Ward from San Francisco. He's a free agent as play safety. And I'd like to try to get the guard from Green Bay to move Vera Tucker to tackle. Jenkins. I don't know if we could swing all that, get rid of Corey Davis, try to restructure Mosley's deal. You know, I'd like to see Clemens and Johnson on the ends next year. Carl Lawson can go as well. Mike White's a backup, I think. I think we kind of saw what he is. He's not bad, but we need a real QB. I mean, I like White. We need a real bona fide quarterback for the first time, really, since Chad Pennington's rookie year before he hurt his rotator cuff. Because after that, he wasn't shit either. I mean, he couldn't throw the ball downfield, you know. So, I mean, I hold my stance on this. We're a receiver, a lineman, a linebacker, and a quarterback away from greatness. Hopefully Hall returns to tip-top form with the torn ACL. But this is just a bad loss, man. I mean, anything's better than Zach Wilson, so whatever. But this just, God, man, I don't know what the problem is. Just White did not look good today. I think he's still hurt. But he's injury prone. It's clear we cannot go into the future with him, and I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. The reason I want you to help with a poll for the fans is Derek Carr will win. Maybe the fan base, the general manager sees this. You know what I mean? And like, can help. You know, it can help us. I know Jimmy G. He's injury prone, and he can't throw the ball downfield either. You know, Carr's ceiling is a lot higher. So, perfect opportunity to get him. This is it. We ain't going to get many of these where you don't have to give up much for a guy like this. We need to get Derek Carr. Well, maybe the Jets will ruin. I don't even want them to ruin Miami's chance because then New England gets in. So I hope they lose and get a better draft pick. I'll speak to you next week, man.
There you go. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for checking in. Again, I don't think Carr is perfect, but I think that is probably the best case scenario. And you're never going to get anyone to agree on it. We're basically a week in. I'm already frustrated with the quarterback talk. You have people who think Carr is terrible. You have people who think Carr is amazing. You have people who want to draft another quarterback in the first round. You have people who want to draft 25-year-old injured quarterbacks. You have people who want to draft a developmental quarterback in Anthony Richardson from Florida in the first round. I've seen the idea of trading up, but then you're giving up a ton of assets to get up and to get a different quarterback in the draft that is also potentially a question mark. There's no perfect solution here. The moral of the story, though, is that whatever Joe Douglas decides to do and whatever happens here, he better be right. He has to be right, because if not, they aren't going to be here much longer. The two are not going to be here that much longer if they don't hit on this. So they have a ton of pressure to get this one right. It's tough. Let's go to Liam from Staten Island. He wants to get into breaking it down and not all of it being bad.
Hey, Matt. Liam from Staten Island here. Another rough one. Hasn't gotten any easier in the past month, but I think, at this point, the only thing you can really do is start to look forward to next season. Look forward to the fact that we're going to have no injuries, hopefully hand to God we have no injuries going into the season. But I think there's a lot to look forward for this Jets team. And what I wanted to discuss with you today is changes that would be made going into 2023.
Okay.
So I quickly just jotted down all the different positions where I think we're set, where I'm not. I'd like to get your feedback on any of these. So quarterback, I think you got to dump Flacco. He's cooked. He's done. Dump him. I think you trade for a top-tier quarterback, whether it's Carr, whether it's Garoppolo, whether it's, something crazy. I think you just trade for someone, he's your quarterback 1. You keep Wilson as your quarterback 2. Doesn't hurt much to have him, and it makes sense to keep him around. He's still young. And then if you can re-sign White as your quarterback 3, if it's a cheap deal, I'd do it. If not, won't matter too much.
Okay.
At wide receiver, you got to get rid of Corey Davis. He just drops too many passes. He's not a wide receiver 1. I think Garrett Wilson moves up to the 1. I think you either draft or trade for a wide receiver 2, and then you have Mims at the 3 and Elijah Moore at the 4. Tight ends, you're good. Running backs, I think you're good already. You keep Breece Hall 1, Zonovan Knight 2, Michael Carter 3. At the offensive line, I think you've got all the guys there. You could add one more, but I think you got Becton on the left next to Elijah Vera Tucker.
Nope.
You got McGovern, then Herbig, then Max Mitchell. I think that's a fine line, and we have some depth. The defensive line, I think, is good. Tight ends, I think we're good. Linebackers, I'd like one more cover linebacker. I'd like a guy that can cover those mobile quarterbacks, that can cover tight ends, someone who has some speed but is also strong. I'm sick of these guys that can only do zone coverage and blitz when we don't really run zone, nor do we blitz much. Safeties, I'd like to keep Whitehead, but I'm fine if we do end up losing him. I think we need new safeties, though. Kicker, Greg the Leg is fine. Punter, got to get rid of Mann. He has been awful this year, to say the least. So you let me know, running through those decisions, what you think is smart, what's not, what positions would you change, what people would you fill in, and thank you so much. Hope you had a happy New Year, and I'm looking forward to this 2023 New York Jets season. It's going to be a good one. I know it.
There you go.
And as always, JETS, 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 Jets.
Thank you, man. The only thing you said that really scared me was a couple things. I think Elijah Moore is wide receiver too. Playing in the slot, and I think you could find someone in mid-tier free agency to kind of replace, almost like a one-for-one swap with Corey Davis. That you can't just gift Mekhi Becton the starting left tackle spot. He hasn't played a game in 2 years. He got hurt in week 1 of 2021 and then missed all of 2022. I'm rooting like hell for him. I want him to come back. I want him to remain healthy. But that is a massive gamble. Massive gamble. Wherever you end up in the first round, I think you're taking an offensive tackle. That would be my plan. Left guard, Tomlinson has been terrible. Terrible. Do you potentially move on from him? McGovern's a free agent, so he's making $8 or $9 million a year. One of the better free agent centers to hit the market. So is he going to get a raise off of that? And are you willing to pay Connor McGovern that raise, or are you going to go to the draft for that? Right guard, Herbig has been terrible down the stretch here. AVT has to play guard, one of the guard positions, either left or right guard. So figure that out. If you want to say Max Mitchell has the leg up as a starter, or actually rather this. How about this? Draft the offensive lineman in the first round. If Dwayne Brown retires, you plug him in at left tackle. Right tackle is a Mitchell Becton competition. If Brown doesn't retire and comes back, then you have Brown at left tackle, the rookie at right tackle, and Becton and Mitchell as your backups there. Herbig I bring back for depth. I'm with you there, but I don't want to bring him back as a starter. Center is going to be there's a lot of work that has to be done to this offensive line still. And linebacker and safety. You have to remake that safety room. Both stink. And you need some linebackers who have a chance of covering. So not an easy task, but they got to find a way to create some cap space too. So I think people are going to be moving out. Let's go to Shane calling in from New Jersey. Let's do it.
Hey, Mr. Matt O'Leary, what's going on? Shane from Jersey. I just wanted to call quick and just say about how pathetic of performance that was. It's Monday now, so I got to sleep it out. And just kind of thinking about the two most important games we've had in 5 to 10 years. First, Jags game was well over, probably in like the third, you could say maybe fourth. This one too, I mean, from that first drive, touchdown in 3 plays. You could tell it was kind of not going to be a good game. And again, it was kind of over. I actually fell asleep in the fourth quarter. Mostly for the night before, but still, that's how pathetic it was. That truthfully, this one was more important than the Jags because somehow we still have a chance. And we just absolutely crapped the bed. That was pathetic. On everybody, I'm really looking at the coaching staff, though. Half the season we won with Zach playing bad, and the defense put us through, and we even held ZK and Lockett to not much. And Kenneth Walker runs all over us. I mean, that was just so absolutely pathetic. So embarrassing, so pathetic. I'm pissed at everybody. I hate Woody Johnson so much. I hate him more than words can describe. I wish he would sell the team. I think he's a huge factor of why we're bad. It starts from the top down. I don't think Salah or LaFleur is going to go. If it were to be one, I don't really know. But all I know is our offensive play calling is so predictable. If I could sit there in bed and predict what we're going to call, I mean, come on. And he's like gets creative and he just runs away from it. Like for these past few games, it's like nothing's exotic, nothing's creative. The long developing routes, the runs. I'm like, oh my God, the 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10 runs. The like obvious first and long runs. It's so bad. It's so abysmal. You watch these teams, Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, like just breeze through like first downs, act like 10 yards, nothing. Even the whole season, even with Zach, it's been so hard for us to get first downs. Like 10 yards is like pulling teeth. It's incredible for an NFL franchise to start off really good. Just what a absolutely pathetic showing and pathetic downfall in the 2 most important games ever.
Yep.
This team absolutely crapped the bed. It's embarrassing, man. All right, that's what I got. Yeah, later, man. Love you. End the show. Be good.
Thank you, Shane. I don't have much to add, not because what you didn't say wasn't good. It was. You hit it all. It's very frustrating that what was a promising season came to a close that way. There was a lot of promise with this team. And like I said at the top, like there's some positive and there's some negative, but I don't really say one way or the other if it was a resounding success or a massive failure. I don't think it was either. It is pathetic. Pathetic's a good word to describe what we've had to watch the last 5 weeks. 5. It's not good enough. Josh from PA. Oh no, I'm sorry. We got Jake next, then Josh. Let's do Jake, who wants to talk about playoff mandates.
Hey Matt, it's Jake from New York City. I want to give you a shout out for putting together so much awesome content during this year. It was a fun ride.
Thank you.
I know it's a bit early, but I wanted to ask you if you think in 2023 there's going to be a playoff mandate for JD and Salah. I think they've had enough time. I believe in them. But, you look across the whole way at the Giants, what they were able to do with significantly less. I think it's irrefutable that we have infinitely more talent on our roster right now, and they were able to make the playoffs. I think playoff mandate might be in order for both of them, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Go Jets, and get some off-season content, bro.
Yeah, that's what we do best, right? Off-season content. We're going to have a ton of things to talk about in another massive off-season for this team. Yes, I think it is absolutely time for a playoff mandate. I don't know how it couldn't be. It is the perfect time to say, raise the bar. You have to make the playoffs. It's been 12 years. It'll be 13 if they miss it next year. And 5 years for Douglas. Was it all 5 him? No. But the expectation has to be, okay, I get it. You broke it down, 4 wins, 7 or 8 win. And then in 2023, it's time to make the playoffs. I like both of them. I think there's a good chance that they are the answer, but you have to show the results at some point. Josh from PA wants to talk about staying away from a specific coach. Okay.
Hey, Matt. Josh from PA. What a way for the season to end. Not great. So I guess I have like a question kind of combined with some like criticism of things that certain fans are saying. So obviously there's questions about Michael Ford. People are saying to fire him and replace him with Frank Reich. I vehemently disagree with that. I think Reich is a fraud. Look at Carson Wentz, who he supposedly developed. He's been horrible since that one season. Look at how he did in Indy. It's a failure as a head coach. And look at Doug Peterson having success now without Frank Reich. I think that's all the reason you need to say that, okay, Frank Reich isn't the answer. All right? There's other Jets fans saying, fire the whole coaching staff. Go all in on Sean Payton. Okay, but what if Sean Payton doesn't want to come to New York? All right? Who are you replacing them with then? I've already said no to Frank Reich. You know, what are the other realistic options? Plus, wouldn't you have to trade for Frank Reich or
Peyton?
Peyton?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how that works with trading coaches, but I guess that's a thing too. Yeah, it's just I don't see who you're replacing this coaching staff with. So do you think that the Jets do replace anyone on the coaching staff or the entire coaching staff? And who do you think they'd be replaced with? Have a good day, man. This kind of sucks.
Yeah, the 20. See, it definitely does suck. And thank you for the call. Sorry, I was thinking out. I wanted to pull up Frank Reich's numbers and just talk about what I do think needs to change. I do think that there's a chance they make LaFleur the scapegoat. I don't know if I would. I would bring in a veteran assistant, though, whether it be a quarterback's coach. A replacement of the quarterback's coach, I think, is absolutely on the table here. Frank Reich, I think you're kind of underrating what he did in Indianapolis and what Carson did. He was with Carson for 2 years, in 2016 and 17, and then again in 2021. With Carson in 2021, they were 9th in points and 16th in yards. A lot of it was because of the run game, though. Although I think Carson was okay. He's been really bad in 2022 and really bad in 2020. But he's had success, or relative success. They were 7th in yards and 5th in touchdowns with Andrew Luck. With Carson in his second year, 7th in yards and 3rd in points. 2019 fell off the rails when you had the late retiring and had to start Jacoby Brissett. In 2020, with Phillip Rivers at the end of his career, 10th in points, 9th in points, 10th in yards. 2021 with Carson, I just said it was 9th in points and 16th in yards, and then this year was just awful. They fell off a cliff. But his offenses from 2017 to 2021, 3rd, 5th, 16th, 9th, and 9th in points. And he did it with so many different quarterbacks. It finally fell off the rails in 2022 with Matt Ryan and Sam Ellinger. But with an old Phillip Rivers, a washed Wentz early in his career, Luck, and Jacoby Brissett, they've been a top half of the league offense. He's a veteran play caller. I do think that obviously Doug Peterson is a big part of the offense and the success there too, but I wouldn't be so quick to be dismissive of him. I really wouldn't. I think they need a veteran on this offensive staff, whether it's taking over at offensive coordinator, which I don't know if I'm necessarily doing. But if they were to replace LaFleur, that's who I would want. I would want a veteran who has experience with either as a head coach or like as an OC and success as an OC. So I think that he would be on the table. Let's talk about next we have Brian from Virginia. He wants to talk about offensive and defensive rookie of the year.
Hey, Matt, it's Brian calling from Virginia. That wasn't fun. I couldn't even watch the entire game. I had something I had to do. I watched most of the first half, and it looked terrible, and it didn't seem like it got any better after that. They still did better than we thought. We thought they'd do a little bit better, but did a lot better than they had the last couple of years, so there's definitely improvement there. We see what needs to be fixed, which is nice. We know what needs to be done to get where we need to go, but as much as yesterday sucked, the loss sucked. The thing I'm most worried about now, oddly, is the Rookie of the Year awards. Sauce played fine, but Hutchinson had a hell of a game, and he's got 3 interceptions and like 8 sacks or something like that. So Vegas odds has him to win Defensive Rookie of the Year now, and with Walker and Wilson. Wilson was the favorite, but they just essentially went head-to-head, and Walker had a hell of a game, and Wilson broke 1,000 yards, but didn't really do too much from what I saw. So I'm concerned that the people that make those decisions saw that game with the first and second, respectively, for Offensive Rookie of the Year, and just saw that Walker really just blew the roof off. But that's my concern, is that we just won't get recognized for the things that we were expecting to be recognized for. But one more week, we'll see how it goes. With our luck, they'll end up blowing Miami out of the water for no reason. But go Jets, and talk to you later.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Kenneth Walker is a slight favorite right now. 936 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, 4.7 yards per attempt. Deserving guy. Garrett Wilson, after his game this past week, is at 1,004 yards, 74 catches, 4 touchdowns. Quiet the last 2 weeks. I think he's going to need a big week. Sauce, to me, I still think is the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was phenomenal again against the Seahawks, as he held DK Metcalf, I think, had 3 receiving yards in the game. Let me see. Yep, 1 catch, 3 yards. And it wasn't DK and Tyler Lockett that beat the Jets. Tyler Lockett had 2 catches for 15 yards. Corners are great. He was still great. Hutchinson has had a couple of flashy numbers at the end here, but I still think that one's Sauce's. I think if any of the two were to lose one, I think it would be Offensive Rookie of the Year going to Kenneth Walker, but I think Sauce has Defensive Rookie of the Year locked up. Let's go to Jake. Jersey wants to talk about some positives and some realistic options for the Jets at the quarterback position.
Hey, Matt, Jake from Jersey. That Mike White performance against Seattle was no good. Maybe he's still hurt. Who knows? Regardless, I don't think our starting quarterback for 2023 is on the roster. I think everyone knows that. But I keep seeing on Jets Twitter, we all know it's a very toxic place sometimes, but I keep seeing that people want Salah fired, and I can see where they're coming from. The team has come out flat, but I personally don't agree. I don't think he should be the one fired. I think if anyone, it should be Mike LaFleur, but I don't think any coach would even be in the hunt till week 17 or 18 with the quarterback play that the Jets have had. I think Salah's honestly done a pretty good job dealing with all of these injuries. I mean, how many offensive linemen? How many different offensive lines that we had, combination-wise? Also, you get good Mike White one week, then you get, poor Mike White the next week, then you get, Zach Wilson insanely good first half, Zach Wilson meltdown second half. It's so insane. Who do you think is the most realistic option for the Jets quarterback in 2023, and who would be your selection if it could be anybody that may be a free agent? It could be a 1 in 100 shot, anybody. Personally, I think Lamar would be awesome, but that's out of the park probably. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. It'll probably end up being Derek Carr in my opinion, but
I agree.
Let me know what you think, man, and as always, go Jets.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Lamar would be the best option because of age and just MVP ability. He's missed time the last 2 years, which is slightly scary, but he's a insanely talented player. Insanely talented player. He was great this year before the injury. I just don't think that one's super likely. I will say this. I don't want Tom Brady because the story would be not that the Jets won. It would be that that Tom Brady was the one who had to save the Jets, which I think takes away from it so much. And plus, he's going to be 46 next year. 46 years old. Pass. Rodgers, intriguing, would have to know what the draft capital is, but I think they might keep him again, which then means that Jordan Love might be available, which I don't want to trade for Jordan Love because that is an unknown. I think an unknown is scary, not good. Don't want Tannehill Jimmy G's made of glass, but would be a perfect fit. So if you were to bring in Jimmy G, then I think you need another veteran on top of that who would be cheap to back him up. And I think Derek Carr is probably your most likely option and probably the best, but that's not to say that there isn't flaws. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Derek Carr is a flawless quarterback and that it is 100% perfect, but I think it's your best option. And I think it'd be a massive upgrade over what they've had. Let's go to Peter from the beautiful Hudson Valley. What's up, man? All right, let's do it.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter from up in the beautiful Hudson Valley of New York calling in. And 5 straight losses. Not something I'm unfamiliar with in Jets history. Unfortunately, going back to 1986, I can remember when the Jets were 10-1 to start the season. Lost 5 straight. Barely made the playoffs. Luckily, beat Kansas City in the wild card round that year. Then lost in double overtime to the Browns, of all teams, at that point in time. And the Jets had a lead going into the fourth quarter, 20-10 in that game. So, I'm not unfamiliar with the way things have collapsed in this particular season, but the way I look at it is I think the Jets were playing over their heads early on this year and now broke themselves back down to earth, and we are who we thought they were all along. And hopefully on Sunday we can get that 8th win and just keep doubling up from 2 wins to 4 wins to 8 wins. That would be something nice. Baby. Even though, obviously expectations were set high. We thought we could probably make it playoffs. We thought we were headed in the right direction. But still, we are moving in the right direction overall. We just need a quarterback and a few extra players to rebuild the offensive line and a safety and a linebacker and a few other things. So hopefully we will get in this offseason and be back next year and make that playoff run we're all expecting of this team. So let's not despair. 5 losses in a row is not unusual for this team in its history. But we'll get there eventually. And as always, go Jets. And congratulations for episode number 150 this week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Peter, appreciate it. Good to hear your voice as always. That was 10-1 start, and then 45-3, 17-3, the 24-10 to San Fran, then 45-24 to the Steelers, 52-21 to the Bengals. Man, that defense fell apart at the end, huh? They crushed the Chiefs and then lost an overtime game. My dad always talks about the overtime game to the Browns and that loss. That was a crushing one for him. And while that one I don't remember, I wasn't alive for that. There is one that I do remember here, and that was very early in my New York Jets fandom, and I just want to make sure that I get the year right. So the 2003 Jets starting 0-4, and then they have the bye, and they come out of the bye and crush Buffalo 30-3. And then they would go 6-6 the rest of the way to salvage that season and get to 6-10. Obviously not as good as the playoff year, but that is one with the bad losing streak to start the year that I recall and that I remember there. So yeah, it's frustrating that they limped to the finish line, but let's be honest here. Most people were predicting the Jets to win 7 or 8 games. And there were some who predicted a lot less. Hell, Brady Quinn said 0-9 at the bye. That was always ridiculous. But I think most rational Jet fans were saying 7 or 8 wins, and that's where they're going to end up this year. So it sucks with how they got there. It was a roller coaster ride. But anyway, we're going to close out with Mickey in New Jersey. He has some interesting stats that he wants to share. Okay, let's do it.
Hey, this is Mickey from New Jersey, and I'm just coming at you with some statistics here. So in the 2021 season, after the bye week, the Jets lose 54-13 to the Patriots. Then they play that Thursday night game with Mike White getting hurt, Josh Johnson. They get a 10-day break, and they lose to the Bills 45-13. So both games after a big break, we lose 54-13 and then 45-13. Then this year, we have a bye week. Then we versus the Pats, we lose 10-3. Then we have the game versus Jacksonville. We get a 10-day break, and we lose 23-6. So every time this Robert Saleh's team has had 10 days or more to practice before an opponent or to game plan for them, They get blown out. If you add all those scores up, they are outscored in those games 132 to 35. I don't think Robert Saleh is a good coach, and I just wanted to bring those stats up to you. Thanks, Matt. Bye.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's not good. I don't know if there's a correlation there or what. Some of that is on the coaching, I'm sure. And then if we're not a Robert Saleh guy, then are we pulling the plug after 2 years? Like, is that we're just going to pull plugs quick? Because I don't think that's fair. And I know maybe that's hypocritical of me to say because I said 2023 should be a playoff mandate, but it seems a little premature after the step forward that they took this year. There's legitimate criticisms for Robert Saleh. That could be one of them. But I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that we think he's a bad coach. And that's your opinion. I get that. You're entitled to your opinion. I don't necessarily know if there's enough to say that he's been a good coach either. I think there's some things that he's done well, and I think there's some things that he's really struggled with. I think he earned himself another shot here, as did Joe Douglas. And it's a big season. Big off season ahead. 2023 is going to be a big off season ahead. Appreciate you guys hanging with me on this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe, whether it's audio form or on YouTube. Also, you can follow along with us on social media, Just Jets Pod on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. I'm Matt O'Leary, NY. Thank you for tuning in. I will talk to you next time.